Okay, so some things have happened in our absence. Let me get this straightened out here, one way or another. The fight with machines continues. I won't even waste time. Let's go.
I can't do it. We'll do it live. Do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
Mister, will you please wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up?
Good morning! Snowman here to all you Brock Purdy and San Francisco 49er haters. Shut up! I gotta thank you, Shane.
I mean, whatever happened to the games where breaking 100 points was, I don't know, unusual?
There was one word to sum up the All-Star weekend.
Trays. Cause we take this job so serious.
Splash Brothers, yes. Ray Allen, replace him with Steve Kerr. Reggie Miller, yeah.
What in the all types of blue hell?
Oh yeah! We're back, Hulkamaniacs. Good morning. Welcome to the fabulous, fantastic football Friday edition of Snowman in the Morning. Glad to have y'all with us. Man, it's been a crazy week, but doggone it, we have made it to Friday, and we're going to make it even further. Today's first hour, of course, is powered by Invader Coffee, fuel for the fearless. Lots to get to. Pete Rose is now on the Hall of Fame ballot. What is wrong with this picture? Tell you about that a little later. Chris Dietz is scheduled to join me, and we'll talk the fall flat of Shedeur Sanders, something he and I both predicted. And then, of course, at the top of the second hour, Alison Moran, a.k.a. Mic Drop Moran, we'll have the token female takeover. Let me get to this, and this is how we'll get started. The Minnesota Timberwolves, congratulations to a young, hungry, strong team. Beat the Golden State Warriors 4-1. They win Game 5, 121-110. Do the Warriors have some questions to answer? Yes, they do. But it's not the questions you think, because they're looking to make another title run next year. They weren't even supposed to be in the thing. If you would talk to a Warriors fan around February, right before the trade deadline when they landed Jimmy Butler, you would get the impression that they had no shot at the playoffs. And not only that, they had to go through the play-in round where they blew out Memphis, went a full 7 games with the Rockets, and then 5 tough, grueling games with Minnesota, where they actually stole game 1 in the Target Center. all it did for the Wolves is wake them up and piss them off. All it did was wake them up and piss them off, and they imposed their will on the inside. See, the Warriors love to work from the outside in, especially with Steph Curry on the floor. But once they lost Steph Curry to a horrible injury, that was essentially the series. Because then you force the Warriors to go inside out, and they just didn't have enough pieces. They just weren't strong enough. I expect them to try to solve that for next year, but the Warriors have nothing to hang their heads about. They were in the title conversation, and then by midseason, they were out of the title conversation, and then the next thing you know, they're back in the title conversation. And they forever will be as long as Steph Curry is there. They have a few pieces to fill because they had a very thin bench. Very thin. Meanwhile, my kudos and my flowers go to the Minnesota Timberwolves, who are back in the Western Conference Finals for the second consecutive year, awaiting the winner of the Denver Nuggets Oklahoma City series, and I pray to God it's the Denver Nuggets. Ant-Man, you got your flowers from me, bro. You have grown up in front of me, and I appreciate that. I appreciate you proving me wrong. I appreciate any athlete or any team that can prove me wrong. I had a stance that Minnesota didn't stand a chance in this series, and they shut me up. I will gladly say that. I ate so much crow the last 4 days, it's not even funny. Granted, the crow came in the form of a couple of burgers, some fettuccine, some baked ziti that I had this morning, because I'm going to eat crow all the way to October. All right. But in all seriousness, this Minnesota Timberwolves team means business. And I love that. They've had 2 shots at the Western Conference Final, once in 2004 and then last year. And they failed both times. Depending on who they see in the Western Conference Finals, I'd love to see them get through to the World Championship Series. And yes, I'm old. I still call it the World Championship Series. I still call it the World Championship Series. But as far as Steph Curry and the Warriors go, you know what? And I'll say it again. They have nothing to hang their heads about. Not a thing. That's our opening for today. And speaking of opening, that, my friends, as far as the Warriors go and the NBA playoffs and the Western Conference playoffs, that's Snowman's take. What is yours? Yes, I know I'm all over the place. Can't help it. Now to some NHL hockey, and Blake is with us this morning. Alex Ovechkin, Wi-Fi connection, front reception, Canes in 5. They beat the Washington Capitals, who have reverted back to their old ways. After the Capitals won the Stanley Cup in 2018, they've done nothing. Absolutely and emphatically nothing. And they will continue to do nothing. Okay? I love you, Ovechkin, but the Capitals are just not good enough. And they haven't been good enough since 2018, man. Which makes you wonder, as far as the Capitals go, are they ever going to be Stanley Cup competitive again? Are they ever going to be competitive, Stanley Cup competitive again? Because they beat the Vegas Golden Knights to win their only cup in 2018, and that was a 5-game conquest. All right, but when you go up against teams like Carolina, who is the most complete team in the state of North Carolina right now, thank you, Jay Spivey, for that, and it's the truth. And I know there'll be certain people that won't have the nerve to talk hockey, but skip them. We will. And speaking of teams pushing through, how about the Edmonton Oilers beating Vegas on the road for a second time in that Western Conference semifinal series, and they win the series 4-1, and they win game 5 by a count of 1-0. It took overtime for them to decide it. I think the Oilers right now are the Stanley Cup favorites because no one expected them to get this far. I don't care what happens with the Jets and the Stars. I'm looking at the Edmonton Oilers. And when the Jets-Stars series is decided, I know I flirted with the idea of doing hockey so many times before. Never just got up the nerve to do it. But I will say this. Once the conference finals begin, I'm on it. And I'm looking at everybody. I'm looking into this camera and I'm saying to everybody, I am enhancing our hockey coverage on Snowman Multimedia. All right? Now, with that out of the way, I'm going to take a break. Then I'm going to bring back an old friend. And I hate to be the guy, or we hate to be the guys that tell you, we told you so, but we told you so. We'll explain when y'all get back in the deuce.
This is Snowman in the Morning.
Are you ready to upgrade your coffee game? Prepare for an invasion of flavor with Invader Coffee. It's the caffeinated elixir that fuels champions, the blend that pushes boundaries. Whether you're battling deadlines or exploring uncharted territories, Invader Coffee has your back. Join the invasion at invadercoffee.com and taste the difference for yourself. Use the code SNOWMAN for 15% off your first order. Invader Coffee, veteran owned.
Join the transporter to Hades.
Your butt and gut becomes one.
Join the reformer of hooker whores.
This is my daughter, Placenta Booty Johnson.
Join the bronze god.
Whenever you are in distress, take off your baseball cap and throw it in the air.
Join your very own superhero of broadcasting, Chris Bass.
So whatever color crayon they get, they palm it and do 2 circles, and that translates to, I can beat up black people.
As he takes you through the week's paces in Baseline. Live every Saturday at 8 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Central, Pacific Time Zone people, just stay asleep when this is on live and just catch the recording. Oh, I'm sorry. Exclusively on the Chris Bass YouTube channel.
Dad?
Just 1 minute, okay?
Hey, Bobo, do trees tell each other stories?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, why don't we go find out? Listen.
Do clouds take naps?
I couldn't tell you.
Can birds draw pictures?
I don't have an answer for that.
Dad, do stars visit their friends?
Look!
The spirit of battle is a powerful force. It's a force that drives us, pushes us beyond our limits. It's a fire in our hearts that fuels our determination, our commitment, our strive for greatness. Every challenge faced, every obstacle overcome, it sharpens our skills and fortifies our resolve. This relentless pursuit of excellence makes the journey so exhilarating. And the victory, it makes the victory sweet.
Hey, Hey everybody, Snowman here. Looking for the best way to experience live events? Well, SeatGeek has you covered. With just a few taps on your phone, you can find the best seats for concerts, sports, theater, and more. Don't miss out on unforgettable moments. Download the SeatGeek app today and get ready for an experience like no other. Each ticket is vetted for authenticity and ranked on a 1 to 10 scale. And right now, if you sign up and use the code SNOWMAN, you will get $20 off of your first purchase. That's only through the power of SeatGeek, where fans can fan.
Mister, how do you operate this Twitter thing or this Instagram thing or whatever the heck? You're supposed to know all this stuff. Anyway, welcome back to the show.
It's the fabulous Friday edition of Snowman in the Morning. We are here with you, and we're glad to be with you. Alison Moran will drop in at the top of the 12 o'clock hour. Full hour of WNBA talk as we get you ready for the new season. We'll let you know contenders, pretenders, MVP candidates, the whole gamut. Does she have the script? No. Does she have a couple of notes? Yep. Does she have about a full hour? Yep. It'll be at the top of the hour. And speaking of which, I have an old friend dropping by, and I can't believe I'm going to say this aloud, but it's incredible, is going to begin his 9th season with the show, beginning right now.
Passionate.
Come after me. I'm a man. I'm 40.
Unflinching.
Let's go back to losing. Parking was easier.
Unrelenting.
They're not going to keep him off the field tonight.
Totally.
This one has a chance.
Deeds.
That's not just a murmur. That's a full-blown fibrillation.
The full-blown fibrillation is back with his 9th season with Snowman in the Morning. I salute you, Mr. Dietz. How are you, brother? Great to have you back for another year.
Great to be back, Snowman. Great to be back.
Okay. We called 2 things on this show.
We did.
The fall of Shedeur Sanders and Pete Rose's Hall of Fame candidacy. And I remember your statement exactly being that the only way Pete Rose will get in the Hall of Fame is if he dies. Well, what did we find out this week?
Well, before we dive into both of those, let me just get comfortable for a second here. as we get ready for Game 6 tonight.
In the garden.
Huge Game 6 because the Knicks have to win.
Yes. If they allow Boston to win Game 6 in the Garden, the Knicks
Game
won't
7.
win
Game 7's at Boston Garden. How many have the Celtics lost? Yeah, that's right. That's right.
None.
You cannot go Game 7 at the Boston Garden.
Nope. You cannot have a Game 7 in Boston. Not with nope. I'll have that game tonight. I'm going to split coverage tonight between that one, Game 6, Celtics and Knicks. That starts at 8, and also gonna peek in on Game 6 between the Toronto Maple Leafs. What the hell am I thinking? See, I didn't have enough of this morning. My wife got me this, and I've been reading it and studying it. I didn't put enough caffeine in it. Toronto Maple Leafs, Florida Panthers, Game 6 tonight in Florida. Now to the 2 subjects we wanted to talk about here. Let's begin with Pete Rose, Charlie Hustle. I said for years, you have been with me, that Pete Rose should already be in the Hall of Fame because of his hits record alone. But Major League Baseball had a grudge against him. And now that, unfortunately, he has passed on, all of a sudden he's on the Hall of Fame ballot. And I asked the question before the break, and then I'll cede the floor to you. What is wrong with this picture?
Well, I've always said, don't get me wrong, Pete Rose's statistics belong in the Hall of Fame.
Mm-hmm.
I have always said Pete Rose is not in the Hall of Fame, not because of Major League Baseball, not because of gambling, not because of anything other than Pete Rose. Pete Rose made the decision to lie to everyone, lie in the face of the evidence against him,
mm-hmm.
and he chose and Major League Baseball gave Pete Rose Giamatti. Giamatti gave him the option.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, come clean, do whatever you got to do, and we'll you come clean and we'll bury this and we'll bury the hatchet and we'll go on. And Pete Rose said, no, I'm going to stick to my guns, blah, blah, blah. And he said, no, you're going to bury that evidence and I'm not admitting to anything. If Pete Rose had just said, okay, fallen on his sword, he would have been in the Hall of Fame before I was even born.
Long time ago. Yep.
But Pete Rose decided that. And then we had the unfortunate, the commissioner died, having Pete Rose suspended for life.
Mm-hmm.
No commissioner was ever going to uplift that and have Pete Rose walk on stage and address the Hall of Fame committee. That was never going to happen.
Right.
So that's why every time, and we had this debate when I was doing Fifth Down Sports Show for 6 years, every single Hall of Fame would come up and we would have the argument, no matter who I was co-hosting with, who was calling in, we would have the debate of, is Pete Rose, should he be eligible for the Hall of Fame? And I have stuck to this gun ever since. When he dies, the minute he dies, he will be on that ballot.
And look what happened.
He passed away. He's immediately put on the ballot. And I guarantee you he will be put – there will be people that will hold out. There's no doubt about that. There are writers that will just say, nope, I can't do it. But there's enough people now that they will put him in, and those people will champion that. I voted yes, and all of that. But none of that matters. What matters is what matters is the cause of this. And for people to say it was Major League Baseball, it wasn't. It was Pete Rose. It was Pete Rose's fault. And every time he did something to uplift this, he never went out of his way to do it. Right. Remember, the first time he ever admitted it was when he was trying to sell his book.
Yep.
And everybody knew it. Everybody saw through it. Everybody was like, yeah, you're doing this as a cash grab. Get out of here. We're not doing that.
Right.
Then the next time he wanted to do it, he had a reality show coming out.
Mm-hmm.
So every time Pete Rose wanted to cop to this, it wasn't because Pete Rose wanted to cop to it. Pete Rose wanted to make good grades. It's because Pete Rose wanted to make money off it.
Wanted to make money. Mm-hmm.
So Pete Rose did it to himself. Don't twist this into this is a problem with Major League Baseball. This is a problem with the Hall of Fame. It was never that problem. It was always Pete Rose is the problem.
I'm glad you pointed that out to me because I can honestly say I truly didn't think of it from that particular angle of, with his book sales and his reality show and everything like that. I will be perfectly honest. I had, where are they? Speaking of the literal rose-colored glasses, of course, these are not that color, but I had these on and was just so enamored with what Pete Rose did on the field that I never took the opportunity to look at everything that happened to him post-suspension, post-Bartlett Giamatti, and everything. So I'm glad you brought all that up. And you're absolutely right. If he'd had fallen on his own sword and come clean with everything that he did, they'd have buried this a long time ago and no one would have made anything of it. But since he decided to stick to his guns, except when he was trying to make money and sell his book and things like that, and no one was buying it, he did it to himself. He absolutely. So I will admit that part of me was wrong with this assessment. Part of me was wrong.
And I read an article. Well, I didn't read the article. I just read the headlines and the first blurb because I was at the store looking at the paper. Mm-hmm. And of course, the writer of this article was talking about Pete Rose and talking about Pete Rose being back on the ballot and said, now that gambling is legal, gambling is still not legal.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. Yes. Gambling is legal for fans. For anyone not paid by that organization, yes, gambling is okay. You still walk into a baseball locker room, and the first thing is do not bet on baseball. That's number one.
It is.
Do not bet on baseball.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's the crux of this issue, is that people have it as, oh, gambling's legal, so anybody can do it. No, if you're the manager of the team, you cannot be betting. You can't even put money on your own team, because whether you're betting for or against your team, and he'll said, oh, he only put money on the Reds. Well, that changes the way you manage. That changes the way you're managing the game. That changes what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you're betting on your team and the spread is what, and we do this all the time. We pick games against the spread.
Yep.
If the spread is 2.5 runs and you're up one, and you're up 1 run, well, guess what? You're going to be pushing your guys in a game that maybe you don't have to run the bullpen that night. Maybe you don't have to do certain things. But no, you've got to hit that mark. So you're doing it differently. That's the whole point of the don't bet on base. Yeah, you can bet on anything you want, just not baseball.
Right.
If you're a manager of a baseball team, you cannot bet on baseball. And of course, betting on your own team. And he never said that. He always said, I bet on baseball.
Mm-hmm.
He never copped to betting on his own team. Which I'm sure no one's ever seen those things, because Bart Giamatti is a man of his word, and he said, all right, you're ineligible for the Hall of Fame. They buried all the evidence. Mm-hmm. So we never know what they had on him, what teams he was betting on. We don't know any of that.
And we won't know either, because it's all buried.
We won't know because of the integrity that Major League Baseball could have come out with all that information. They could dump it on everybody and let everybody make their own decision. But no, they signed a contract that said they won't, and they never will. And that's fine. But let's not get it twisted here. Gambling is legal for you, all people who are not involved with the team.
Right.
Anyone involved with the team, you are still not allowed to bet on baseball. It is still illegal. And Shohei Ohtani is proof of that.
Yes. Yes, he is. Well, I'm glad that you made me see every other angle I chose not to look at, and I will freely admit I'm a fan. Baseball is my first love. All right, my dad, my granddad, my mom. Even though my wife doesn't like baseball, she still supports me when I call baseball games. Baseball is my first love, so I can honestly admit that I looked at that particular situation with rose-colored glasses, because I love Pete Rose. I love watching him play, but I will admit this aloud, and with you breaking it down the way that you broke it down, you're right. He put it on himself. He buried himself and kept himself out of the Hall of Fame by not taking the opportunity that Commissioner Giamatti gave to him to come clean and keep himself eligible. He did it to himself. Absolutely right.
I mean, if you want to have a broader discussion about it, see. The Pete Rose is the same problem our current president has. Anytime you bring up the name, people get bogged down in the name of Pete Rose.
Right.
Just like any conversation, if you mention the president, all of a sudden all hell breaks loose.
Yep.
So, but Pete Rose, this is the problem with baseball. And, you can go back to the Hall of Fame. Should steroid users get in? Should Barry Bonds be in, Roger Clemens, Alex Rodriguez, all of these guys that are lumped in there. Mm-hmm. And if you just stick to, and I'll toot my own horn on this, if you just stick to my what I said at the beginning, yeah, their statistics can go in.
Yes,
their statistics can go in. That's fine.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine. You can have plaques to Barry Bonds' home runs. That's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't have a plaque of him. You don't have a plaque of him. You don't honor him that way. You just honor his statistics, honor his part of the game,
right?
And we're done. You move on. You go. You took steroids. You get your stats in. But that's the problem with baseball. Has not. They say no. They say it's all or nothing, and you don't have to. It shoots them. They're shooting their own foot by doing this.
Mm-hmm.
Just put their statistics in. They have their name in there. That's fine. You don't have to give them a whole ceremony.
Right.
You don't have to bring them out and let them talk to the Hall of Fame committee. You just put their statistics in.
You put the records. You put the records that they have in there. The home runs for Bonds, the Cy Youngs for Clemens, and things like you put the stats in there. And I'm glad you made me realize this. You put the stats in there, but you don't have to put the person in there. So their stats get in, they're recognized, and that's that.
Yeah, I mean, everybody has Google now, so everybody can know. Oh, Barry Bonds. Everybody's going to know the statistics. It's not like you're hiding it. It's not like you're hiding anything. It's not like you're just saying, "Hey, this guy played. Here's what happened." You don't even and all this fight. Oh, every fight has been over. Should there be an asterisk or blah blah blah? No, you don't have to. You just put them in. You say, "Hey, here you go. We're moving on. We're moving on. These are the stats." And hopefully at some point, and probably not your lifetime, probably not mine, somebody's going to break that. Somebody's going to break those records because records are made to be broken.
Yep.
So eventually somebody will top it. And then it won't be a discussion forever. So it's just one of those things. They could alleviate these problems, and they don't. And the bigger question is, why don't they? Do they get more attention out of it? Do they, is any, as they always say, is any press good press? Like, I don't know why they could easily solve this problem, and they choose not to.
Yeah. Yeah. Why is that the case? Why do you believe that to be the case, that they choose? Let me highlight that word and capitalize that word, choose not to solve this problem. Why do you think that is?
I think it is. I think it is publicity. I mean, you look at where we're at, where you're at when they do the Hall of Fame thing. It's at the end of May, beginning of June, when nothing is nobody's talking about anything. They're like, we just finished. We'll get the NFL draft in a minute, but the NFL draft just finished up.
Yep.
So there's nothing really going on. The schedule doesn't come out for a couple weeks. You've got a lull. You've got the NBA, and now they're in the second round. But at this point, you're not in the conference finals. You're not in the NBA finals. Hockey, same thing. So there's really no news topic. So baseball can come out, have their Hall of Fame, do their Hall of Fame thing, and they're probably saying, "Hey, if we have these issues, people on sports shows like this, more importantly, sports shows like on FS1, on that other 4-letter network, they're going to talk about it, and they probably think, oh, any talk is good, but to the fan who already knows all this stuff, like me, I see that I see a debate like this, and I'm turning it off because I already know what the answer is. Right. The answer is baseball doesn't want to deal with it. They just don't want to.
Right. Absolutely right. Now, to the other thing that we called correctly, the slide of Shedeur Sanders. I want to point to a game that you and I did when they played Kansas last year, this past season. They played Kansas, and in a sentence, Shedeur Sanders looked awful. He was completely off that game. And so many times during that broadcast, I heard you say it. You had me laughing every time because it's the truth. You kept saying, and they want to select this guy as your number one quarterback. I'll never forget that. And each time, he just kept proving us right. Let me go back a year prior in a game against Colorado State, where they had to rescue that game in double overtime. And what happened 2 weeks later? They get smacked down by Oregon. Their last year in the Pac-12. And then this past year, the game against Kansas. I want to hear from you about the slide of Shedeur Sanders. Though I know the answer because we've had many talks about it. Talk to the fans about it and how you and I saw this coming with Shedeur.
Well, it was only a slide to those that missed, and I will say this, the greatest segment in radio history, which was week 3 on this program, week 3 of the college football season.
Yep.
And it's too bad Droid's not here. It's too bad Droid's not here to remember. But
and I remember
I did my research. I was looking for that clip. I was looking for the clip where we talked about Shedeur Sanders. And I didn't realize it was in the same episode where I dropped Kansas is shooting 3-pointers instead of scoring touchdowns. I didn't realize it was the same one. But to even better, Victor asked me in the first minute of that segment, he asked me about Shedeur Sanders. And I said, yeah, if you take him after the 3rd round, sure.
You're good. Yep.
And then the whole season played out. I never got off that. I said, yeah, he's 3rd round or later. So I wasn't shocked when nobody was taking him. But what I was shocked about was the coverage of it was, oh my God, he's fallen. He's going to, I'm like, he's just getting taken where he should be taken. Because he's a project. He's a project in the making.
Mm-hmm.
He's a guy that has to sit there. He's a guy that has to watch a quarterback play. And he might even be in the best spot right now because he's not under a guy who does everything right.
Right.
He could have a coach in his ear when Deshaun Watson makes a mistake going, did you see the mistake that he just made?
Yep.
Don't make the same mistakes when you're out there. Like he's in a spot where he can watch a guy make the same mistakes he makes and learn from them. Now, can he learn from them? I don't know. I've always said this. Shedeur has all the tools. He has all the tools to be a good quarterback. The problem is he makes terrible decisions. His decision making is awful.
Thank you for saying that. The big dog is with us, and dog, you and I have said the same. All 3 of us. Anyone who has watched this show for the 2024 college football season, we said the same thing every week when I got hounded. Okay, Dietz, you've seen it. Dog, you've seen it. I got hounded about Shedeur Sanders when I said 3rd round at best, and I included the words at best.
Yeah, his decision-making skills are complete shit. Let's be real about it.
Absolutely.
He's the reason why they had so many turnovers towards the end of the season. He crumbles under the pressure.
I want to go back. Let me go back again. Actually, I won't even have to point out the Oregon game. There's another game that I want to point out which told me everything I needed to know about Shedeur Sanders. And it's not Colorado State 2023. It's 2024 against Stanford.
Yes.
When they led that game 29-0, and Shedeur Sanders was rolling. Now, I had everyone, even during parts of that 29-0 lead, he made mistakes. He held on to the ball too long, didn't shuffle his feet in the pocket, didn't move around in the pocket very well. But everyone that listened to me that night was coming to me saying, you might be right about Shedeur. And then there were some that kept saying there's a whole second half to play and he can really pile on the numbers. Never piled on the numbers, did he? What happened was in the second half, he got sacked 6 times. In the second half alone, he got sacked 6 times, 8 for the game, and they allowed Stanford to come all the way back from 29-0 in their own house and beat them in double overtime. It took double overtime for Shedeur to get to 300 yards.
Yeah, I said this before the draft. I said this going into the draft, and so many people take it whichever way you want. I said it. He's Dak Prescott. That's who he is. Has all the tools, makes terrible decisions. And where did Dak Prescott go? Dak Prescott got drafted in the 3rd round. That's why I always said he was 3rd round at best. He was 3rd round at best. He wasn't going to get any higher than that. And for people to overreact about, oh my God, he's falling. I was like, if it depends on who you were believing. If you were believing what you were seeing, yeah, you weren't shocked. If you were believing what you were hearing, because hearing, everybody wanted to put him on some kind of pedestal, and we never got it. But
nope.
Again, proven right, and I was just shocked it was the same segment. But another thing about the draft, and this is one point, and it bolsters this program. It bolsters the Brian Snow show that I did with you, Brian, when we had the Colts beat writer on,
Matt Taylor.
Yes.
It was
right after the draft where the Colts took Anthony Richardson. And he said, you asked him, how was practice today? And he said, yeah, Anthony Richardson completed some passes. And you were going to move on to the next segment. And I stopped him dead in his tracks and said, hold on, breaking news.
And I'm glad
he actually completed a pass. And
I'm glad
he's a professional. And he was about to laugh.
But he's
a professional, and he was like, I can't even.
He wanted to laugh. He wanted to laugh because that Matt and I pick at each other. People have heard Matt Taylor and I on the program together. We do pick at each other, and he has to stay professional, as do I. But when you did that, when we had Matt Taylor on, we all got a chuckle out of that because. And it goes back to the point of Shedeur Sanders, and this ties in. We all knew what we were going to get with Anthony Richardson.
But here's the kicker. Here's the best part. And this happened this year. So I get home, third round of the draft. I get home, and the Seahawks in the late third round decided to take Jalen Milroe.
Yes.
And the guys on the NFL Network were breaking it down, and they said, "Who does he remind you of?" And they said this. They said, "Who do you remind me of?" Oh, Anthony Richardson. And this was the dead quote from the guy. He said, "Yeah, he reminds me of Anthony Richardson. Amazing athlete, but he can't play quarterback." Right. that was exactly what he said.
I heard. I heard. We covered that. We covered the draft this year. And we were talking about Jalen Milroe, and we said the same thing. The guy on the NFL Network said the exact sentence, and it all holds true. It all holds true.
But I said that's either a shot at the Colts, or you're saying Jalen Milroe is better than where he got drafted, or it's a huge shot at they took a guy at number 4 overall, and you're comparing him to a guy who got taken 98th. Mm-hmm. I mean, what? Mm-hmm. I was shocked, and when he said, "Yeah," and the one criticism they had, "Oh, he's completely inaccurate." And I was like, "You just compared him to Anthony." I was like, "Jesus!" I was like, "You can't make this up." You
can't make this up. One more point before we let you go, Deeds. You also called a trade correctly. When we were seeing the struggles, you hung out with me, Jody, and the crew for a couple of Colts games, and you said, I'll never forget it. You said, "You know who the Colts need to trade for? Who's that? Daniel Jones." Well, son of a bitch, Daniel Jones is now a Colt, and I talked with Jody about it. I got her caught up on everything, and she says, "You know what? This might be a good move after all." Remind the fans of why you said that sentence about Daniel Jones going to Indianapolis.
Well, I said it would be a good fit. I said it would be a good fit for both teams. I mean, the Giants wouldn't have had to go out and spend $20 million on Russell Wilson,
right?
Because they would have had Anthony Richardson there. They could go out and draft somebody else because they didn't draft Anthony Richardson, so they could draft a quarterback like they did with Jackson Dart and have a guy there. Let the other quarterback get ready, and when Anthony Richardson's done, he's done. But also, the Giants' offensive line was terrible. So you need a quarterback that can run around and do things that way. But for the Colts, Daniel Jones, we've seen what Daniel Jones can do when he's got a competent running game, when he's got a competent offensive line, when he's got the other pieces around him, which the Colts do.
Yep.
We don't want to sit here and say he's the next coming of anything, but he's a decent NFL quarterback. He's won a playoff game.
Yeah.
So he's a guy that is okay. His thing is as always, it's what's happening in front of him. He never, when he has time and can make the right decision, he can get the ball where it needs to go. He can escape the pocket when he has to, but he can play from inside the pocket, which is what the Colts needed.
Yes.
The Colts need a guy who's inside the pocket because the Colts offense runs on the running game.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot, you can't have a guy who works outside the pocket because you can't run the ball then. You can't have you can't call plays for, he can't play action pass if he's got to roll outside the pocket. So you've got to have a guy who can work within the system they have, which is run the football, be accurate with your throws. When we throw the ball, it needs to be where it needs to be.
Yeah.
And that was never going to be Anthony Richardson's game. His game was going to be play until the play breaks down and hope that somebody's wide open because that's how he's going to hit him.
One more
Daniel
question.
Jones has accuracy. He can throw with accuracy. And I think he'd be a good fit for Indianapolis. I think he will be a good fit there. And also just getting out of New York. Just being out of New York, it helps him so much.
Oh, man. Chris Dietz back on the board with us. You'll see him and hear him every Thursday, and the segment Totally Dietz will also be on Spotify each and every week. You can grab it on Spotify and on Apple Podcasts, and you can catch the playlist on our Snowman in the Morning and our Snowman Multimedia YouTube page. Dietz, an honor, my man. Welcome back for your 9th season. Glad to have you. We'll talk to you next week.
Absolutely. Hey, big dog, let's go. We need it tonight.
Yes.
Yeah, we do.
Yes.
We need it tonight. Get it back to the Boston Garden. Get it back to the Boston Garden for Game 7.
I don't want to see a 6-game celebration. Get it back to the Garden for Game 7. Thanks, Dietz.
All right. Have a good one, guys.
Passionate.
Come after me. I'm a man. I'm 40.
Unflinching.
Let's go back to losing. Parking was easier.
Unrelenting.
They're not going to keep him off the field tonight.
Totally.
This one has a chance.
Dietz.
That's not just a murmur, that's a full-blown fibrillation.
If there is a Game 7 between the Celtics and the Knicks, Dog and I will strap on the headset for it. Take a break. When we come back, we're just going to look over the NFL schedule or parts thereof.
Now, hold on. Before we go far, you were talking about the MLB Hall of Fame thing earlier.
Yes.
I'm going to chime in on this one, and I'm going to make it simple.
All right.
Does Pete Rose deserve to be in the Hall? On paper, yes. But can the writers get over their bias to put him in? Everybody knows the writers are biased when it comes to the Hall of Fame. That's a given.
Craig, anyone?
On paper, Pete Rose deserves to be in the Hall.
Mm-hmm.
But as we all know, who deserves it and who gets in are obviously going to be two different things.
True.
Can the writers get over their bias?
Yep. Hall of Fame writers, no matter what sport, are indeed biased. Roger Craig, anyone? I don't even have to explain that story.
Players are eligible to get in. Eligibility only matters if you actually do get in.
Yeah, very true.
So let's see if the writers can get their head out of their ass and actually do something right for once.
I would love to see that.
Now let's pause.
Quick pause. When we come back, we'll look over some NFL schedules. The schedules are out, and this is probably going to be the basis of our football talk for
the next hour.
Oh, not only that. We'll see what happens. Back in a minute.
This is Snowman in the Morning.
During bad weather, driving can become downright dangerous.
What's your emergency, please?
Trust Battle Vision Storm, the revolutionary glare reduction glasses that turn your sight bright during bad weather at night or during the day. Watch your ordinary vision become extraordinary. Battle Vision Storm uses light optimizing lenses that block blue rays so you see clearly in heavy rain at night or blinding snow during the day. Heavy rain, Snow, sleet, or fog can make it impossible to drive. Not with Battle Vision Storm. Get your Battle Vision Storm for only $19.99. But wait, due to rising costs and supply chain shortages, this may be your last chance to get your very own at this low price. There is a strict limit of 4 Battle Vision Storm per order while supplies last. Don't wait, order now.
Call 1-800-483-6319 or visit battlevisionstorm.com. So call 1-800-483-6319 now.
One of the great things about ordering meals from Mother of Macros is that you can do it from the comfort of your own home. Click the national or local delivery link to access the menu, and we'll ship the meals right to your door. We understand you won't always have time to plan, shop, prepare, and cook to provide healthy nutrition for your family, so the process is simple and saves you hours. We know you're busy, so our meals are professionally prepared and packaged. You only need to heat them up and enjoy. We provide macro-balanced, delicious meals chock full of fresh, local ingredients with none of the stuff you don't want to eat. Plus, our menu changes every week, keeping your taste buds wanting more. We take care of your meals so you can worry about everything else on your list. Mother of Macros.
Jason, let's go see your room.
What do you think? We kept it a little spare, so you can decorate it how you like.
Dinner! Go?
Excellent. Soccer is fun. Yeah, I saw you guys out there.
SeatGeek is the ticketing app for fans like Boomstick Lady. No free throw is safe from the roar of her sticks. SeatGeek helps her find a seat in the direct eye line of the shooter so she can sit where her boomsticks make the biggest boom. Everybody okay? SeatGeek handles the tickets to sports, concerts, and more, so fans can fan.
Mister, how do you operate this Twitter thing or this Instagram thing or whatever the heck? You're supposed to know all this stuff. Anyway, welcome back to the show.
Dear Hard Knights, you.
Oh, God. That came out of nowhere.
You know what's bad? I was sitting here thinking about it, and I said I should do the original when we come back, but that one came out first. Tomorrow on Snowman Multimedia, the WNBA tips off its season, and Old Snowman will have the coverage of the best game in town, the Chicago Sky and the Indiana Fever, a possible playoff preview. We'll talk more about that next hour. Let's look at some schedules. And
well, I'll say it this much. I was looking over things as you were talking about the schedules, and Fox Sports announced their rankings of who's got the hardest schedule. You're not going to believe the bottom 3.
Giants and Bears?
No, that's at the top of this as the hardest. Giants, Bears, Lions, Eagles, and then a tie for 5th between Dallas, Green Bay, and Minnesota.
Yipe.
The 3 teams with supposedly the easiest schedules: New England at 30, New Orleans at 31, and San Francisco at 32.
Off. Well, we do have to play some bottom feeder teams.
You do.
Okay,
so don't New England.
All right, so looking at New England's schedule, they start things off on September 7th with the Raiders.
Yep.
And it should be in Oakland, damn it.
Well, it's going to be kicked off in New England.
Well, I'm saying the Raiders should be in Oakland.
Yeah, I hear you.
Then they go to Miami.
Of course, I get a phone call at this point. I've been busy today. I'll be right back.
All right. Then they go to Miami, host Pittsburgh, host Carolina, at Buffalo, at New Orleans, and at Tennessee. So they're on the road for 3 in a row before they don't even see a bye until week 14. That's the same with the 49ers. I think Droid's with us now. What's up, Droid?
Ovi, Bon Jovi, Nacho Mahomie, Canes in 5.
Who started that trend anyway? Because I totally missed it. Who started?
So it was one day on Snowman in the morning. Because this is back when we got Parker White on, and you know we talked about Shannon Sharp,
right?
And we were like, oh, how does he come up with these? And then we started thinking of some. We were like, all right, what's a good one? You gotta think of a player name. Because his common one is like Luke Dort, like Lou Dort, like is it bad? But
stop! You made me spit up my coffee. Dang it! Go ahead. Sound like you got a cold, man.
It's just the pollen. It's been high over here.
Okay. Yeah, wife goes through the same thing here.
But how does the NFL schedule makers allow you to have a average schedule win rate of under 500?
I have no idea. I do not know. I don't know.
Your average opponent win rate, I think, is like 0.47
or 417.
Okay,
41%. You good?
I'm good. It was just landlord handling a couple things.
Okay. Looking back at the Patriots schedule, y'all don't see a bye until week 14.
Yeah, that's gonna be tough.
Who? Listen, we don't get a bye.
Who the hell trolled this schedule?
You know the answer to that, so don't go sounding stupid asking that question.
Do I sound like a damn bronzexual to you, dumbass?
Oh, I'm sorry. You're still touchy after your Bruins traded away Marchand. That's my bad.
Fuck off.
No, he's still touchy from 2013.
Shut up!
What did I say? What did I say?
Know damn well what you say.
I
Now
didn't say
shut
anything.
up.
No, I didn't say
Damn
anything.
well what you say.
I know damn well what I said. I said 2013, and you get you sprout fur on me. What's up with that? You're fired. No, I'm not. I created this shit. Droid, I have a request for you, or someone has a request for you.
Who is it?
It's Blake. He says, quote, let me and Shane call Canes Panthers if it happens. Close quote.
Oh, Lord. Oh, by the way, what he said, Alex Ovechkin, Wi-Fi connection, front reception, Canes in 5.
Well, Canes won in 5 games.
Back to back, we've jokingly said Canes in 5, and they've done it in 5.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Back to the schedules we're looking at. This is stupid.
I'm looking at this.
Why
right
are the
now.
Chargers and the Chiefs opening in freaking Brazil?
They want Mahomes to get shot in the leg.
Oh my leg! Oh my leg! Oh my leg! Oh my leg!
Oh my leg! Oh my leg! Oh my leg!
Shut up!
They also think Rashee Rice could be able to survive down there, considering how much of a crash out he.
Oh my gosh! All right, they get the Chargers to start off in Brazil. Then they see the champs at Arrowhead. Then they go to New Jersey to face the Giants, host Baltimore, then at Jacksonville, and then 3 in a row at home with Detroit, the Raiders, and the Redskins.
I am probably going to see if I can go to that Redskins game.
October 27th, that's a Monday night game.
Monday night? I usually have Mondays off.
If you go there, you better take some pictures.
My phone doesn't freeze like last time.
Right.
Fair enough. Fair
enough. And the thing is, Blake, you're getting dragged along with me. I don't care if you have to request off that day. You are going with me, whether you like it or not, mister.
That sounds like Jody, in which I happily go anyway.
You're
going with me whether you...
screwed. Yeah, you're totally screwed.
Yeah.
All right. Then
hold on.
Then they go to Buffalo, talking Chiefs. Then they get a bye, and then all hell breaks loose. They go to Denver. They host my wife's Indianapolis Colts. 4 days later, they go to Dallas.
Chiefs in Dallas, really?
4:30.
Been a minute since we pulled that out.
Listen, Deb's not here, and nor is my wife, all right? No anarchy games yet. But I do have a request. I want the Chiefs to beat the ever-loving out of the Cowboys. So with that in mind, they host Houston on December 7th. Then they host the Chargers at Tennessee, host Denver, and then at Oakland to finish the season. And they're waiting the last week of the season. They're waiting to announce all the times because they're thinking playoff schedules and things like that.
Well, let's remember that they can start flexing games as soon as week 5.
Okay, so can we flex all the Cowboys games to noon? No, because Thanksgiving happens. And
I know this is going off of our topic of football, but listen, Blake, Taylor Hall, John Wall, you could throw Logan Paul. Panthers are winning in 6.
They better. Hey, Pistols is with us. Good morning to you, or afternoon in this case. Here's the Sunday Night Football schedule, and I'm pledging to do Sunday Night Football this year, all of them. Even with my coverage of the 49ers and the Colts. Week 1 starts in Minnesota. The hell am I thinking? Then I get Chiefs Giants in week 2. Week 3, I'm taking a nap. Why, you ask? Green Bay and Dallas.
Okay. I wanted to ask, realistically, who do you think is going to start for the Giants? Do you really think they're going to start Mr. Unlimited?
Man, Mr. Unlimited won't make it to week 1. Jackson Dart should get the keys right now. All right.
I will strongly disagree.
Who cares? I say Jackson Dart gets the keys.
Because then you're just going to have another Justin Fields.
Yeah, that's Mr. Unlimited, who's been limited since he threw an interception to the Patriots.
We got someone in the wings on this.
Just a minute.
I'm just letting you know, man.
I know that. I know.
I'm trying to save. I'm also trying to save Victor the embarrassment of having to deal with this all over again.
This has been yet another Beating a Dead Horse presentation.
All right, I'll wrap this up by saying this before we bring Allie on. First of all, the Cowboys are going 0-15-2. And if that happens, I got beachfront property to sell you in Arizona.
Well, I mean, I'm looking at the Christmas Day games here, and I'm not even enthused by them.
Listen, I am happy that my Chiefs we don't need to watch on Netflix this year. We can watch on Prime, which, everybody's got Prime.
Here's Allie. Alison Moran is with us. How are you, my dear? You're muted.
You're muted on.
Allie, we can't hear you.
Damn.
There you go.
Hey!
There she is.
Oh, hi everybody.
It's a Friday. You know, we're all tired from the week.
Yes, we are.
We're worn. It's Friday. We're worn out. We're right at the end of we're right at the finish line. And just when you get to the finish line, and Allie's heard me say this, it seems like the screen freezes just when you're about to reach across the finish line, and you're like, "Hey!"
It ain't Friday without a hell of a lot of scuff.
Absolutely. It just is going to happen.
It is.
Yeah, I mean, it's Murphy's Law, right?
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Every Friday, it's Murphy's Law.
That's why I'm on.
We're talking NFL schedules, and looking at the Bears schedule, their preseason games, they host Miami, they host Buffalo, and they go to Kansas City. That's the preseason.
Yeah.
Then they open with Paul Allen, J.J. McCarthy, and the Minnesota Vikings at Soldier Field.
Actually, that is really, how do I want to say this? It is really cool because J.J. McCarthy is a local product from Nazareth Academy.
Nazareth Roadrunners.
I interviewed him when he was but a wee but still taller than me guy. And I actually wrote an article about JJ, and the title of my article was, "Will JJ be the next Tom Brady at Michigan?" And yeah, he kind of was.
He kind of was, yeah.
Yeah,
He led that Michigan charge.
He did.
Then Ben Johnson and the boys go to Detroit. So they go back to he goes back to his old stomping grounds. And then September 21st. And I'm debating whether to do this game for two reasons. One, I see the Colts early. I see the Colts and the 49ers early. And two, y'all host the Cowboys.
Yeah.
If I can make a request to Droid, I can make it with Allie. Please beat the hell out of the Cowboys. Please. Because Shane, push that button again, please. Because I don't want to see this all year.
This has been yet another Beating a Dead Horse presentation.
I love horses. Oh God, those Cowboys! They know how to break your heart in the same ways that the Cubs used to be specializing in. You know,
you mean the way my Red Sox are now, just finding new and inventive ways to lose games?
Yeah, kind of like the way they were before 2004, right? And
don't remind me.
Listen. As far as the Cubs go, in '84 when they played the San Diego Padres, my whole family was in the living room watching.
You had to go there.
Watching Game 5. My dad looked at me and I looked at him, and he said, "Do we expect anything to happen?" I chose not to answer that question. I knew better. And then Game 5 happened, and I'm not going to say anymore.
I've hated Steve Garvey ever since. And I interviewed him too.
The night before. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. It was tragic. Oh man. Yeah. Heartbreak City. Absolutely. Some teams, when you are truly invested, it's like that movie Fever Pitch. Do you remember that with Jimmy Fallon and Drew Barrymore? I mean, you just, you absolutely, your heart twists in 6 different knots, and there's just no way that they could break your heart anymore. It's like a bad lover, don't do that to me and then come back and give us all the crumbs that
right.
That was me in 2003 until Aaron Boone hit that walk-off off Wakefield.
You know what?
Man.
I hate Aaron Boone because I was pulling for Boston. Let me explain.
Okay.
I was just barely a fan. I was going through some stuff personally, so I didn't do a lot of baseball that year.
Mm-hmm.
I was pulling for Boston.
Mm-hmm.
I was pulling for Boston because I want the underdog to win. I've always been a fan of the underdog. And then Aaron Boone happened.
Mm-hmm.
And I heard Charlie Steiner go crazy. And I heard John Sterling go crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I heard the television call with Joe Buck. I turned my television off and walked away. My dad's laughing at me. My mom's laughing at me because my mom's original team was the Yankees. She grew up with the New York Yankees.
Okay.
Why'd you turn your television off? Mom, I don't want to talk about it.
We still should have taken Pedro out in the 8th.
You had your chances. The same way the Cubs should have done that with Mark Pryor. Same year.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I was down at Mother Hubbard's in Chicago when Pryor happened.
Oh, I remember Mother Hubbard's.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I was at Mother Hubbard's when that happened. And the collective gasp.
I was in the stands. I was in the stands when that happened. I was. Why? Oh God Almighty!
You could hear that gasp around the country. You could hear that gasp around the country. I had a chance to interview the great Tom Brenneman. And I'll never forget what he said before setting up Game 6. And he said they got Kerry Wood in case there's a Game 7 tomorrow. And his next sentence was, but we are talking about the Chicago Cubs. I should have turned the television off then and walked away. Turn the television off then. Because my mom heard that. She looked at me. She says, "You're a broadcaster." Yes. Why did he say that? Not saying nothing. I'm not saying nothing. And then when the 8th inning happened, I said, "Mom, look at the 8th inning. You got your answer. I'm going to bed."
Right.
Oh yeah. What a life. Yeah.
Well, the WNBA season. I'm excited for it. We're all excited for it. And
we are.
What, Allie, we got so many questions coming into this season. Some around players, some around teams. Can the Liberty go back to back? Will Paige Beckers be playing? You said best about Paige Beckers. Just give her time.
Yes.
Just give her
time. Give her time. I've got a really great announcement to make though first.
All right.
And that is the score. 670, the score, 50,000 watt all sports radio station has shunned the WNBA, the NWSL, the PWHL, you name it, any pro sports that you could ever ask for in Chicago is broadcasting several games this year of the score. On the score, you've got 522 versus the Liberty, 6-7, the big match at United Center with the Indiana Fever. You've got at least 2 games coming up every month of the season.
Good.
And, at long last, redemption. Many years ago, between I think it was 2007 and about 2010 or something like that, the Chicago Sky did have a radio outlet on WVON, and they have not been on radio since. And I have been slamming the Score for years on end about. It's probably why they don't hire me, but it's like. But I have said, radio needs an outlet that covers WNBA games.
Yes, they do.
So often, I think it's probably on a very, very limited basis. They'll see how this goes, and then we'll try. Then we'll see what happens. But I know I'm going to listen. I give kudos to Mitch Rosen. Leela Rahimi is going to be doing part of that. They're going to have a pre and post game show. They hired 3 females to run this thing, and I could not be happier.
And they need this.
Yeah.
I've been trying for it since the WNBA had its inception, because when they started in 1997, there were only 2 teams that had radio, the Houston Comets and the New York Liberty. They were the only 2 that dove in. Later on, Sacramento dove in. Later on, Cleveland dove in. But if you look at the other teams that were around from like 97 to early 2010s, very few teams had consistent radio.
Right.
Very, very few teams. I've said for years, and you've said it with me, that needs to change. They just need to go ahead and make the investment, find a station that will carry all of the games, not some, not a couple of months. You need to carry them all. If you can do it for the Bulls, you can do it for the Sky. If you can do it for the Pacers, you can do it for the Fever. And I'm going to voice the Fever this year on my YouTube channel, and I can't wait for that. But
you're inviting me, aren't you?
You're darn tootin' I am.
All right.
It needs to be it needs to be a pure blind investment made, because we're talking about livelihoods of these young ladies that want to have the word get out there, and not just via social media, not just via YouTube, but do it the old-fashioned way too, with television and radio. Hell, do it the way Jim Durham and Johnny Kerr did it back in the day with a simulcast, man.
Yeah, that's right. It worked out pretty damn well, I think. Did. For them. So, and it still continues to this day with Chuck Swirsky and Bill Wennington. It's been a good group. And, it's finally great in the end to see that, that major radio is finally taking notice. Finally. That just proves that we're in that moment. And I'm so excited that's going to happen this year. This is going to be a great season. It's starting off to be terrific. And interestingly enough, I just saw a survey of the WNBA GMs. Did you see this?
I didn't see it.
Okay. It was all over ESPN and stuff like that. But they asked the GMs 40 different questions about the best teams, players, coaches, off-season moves. General managers were not permitted to vote for their own team or personnel, and percentages were based on the pool of respondents to that particular question rather than all 13 GMs. So, want to hear how they responded?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Which team will win the 2025 WNBA Finals? Brian, what's your choice?
I don't have one right now. I'm backing out of this one.
Shame on you.
Wow. You know why I'm backing away?
Why?
In the immortal words of Bugs Bunny, me and my big fat mouth. I'm staying out of it. No, because every year I get asked this. I love doing it. Y'all know I love doing it. Every year I get asked this question, and every time I lean one way instead of going the other way, like I did with Minnesota, and it should have been New York, pow, that happens. Nope. I'm letting this season fail in front of me.
Throw a set of balls, Brian.
But.
There's the mic drop moment.
There it is. The big butt.
You ain't seen nothing yet, Droid. If I had to make a pick, I'm gonna go total homer. And yes, I'm being a homer and I'm being stupid, and I'm picking the Indiana Fever.
Okay, well, you're not the only one who picked Indiana Fever. 10% of the GMs picked the Indiana Fever to win it all this year. Minnesota at 60%. New York repeated 20%. Las Vegas also got there at 10%. So I'm not surprised about this. Now, who's going to be the WNBA MVP? Can you take a guess on who's first?
Oh, I wonder.
Y'all already know my answer, but if I'm going to make a true pick,
yeah,
this time I won't be a homer. I'm going to say Asia Wilson.
Angel Reese?
Asia Wilson.
Asia Wilson. I'm sorry, I missed that. Yeah. Okay. I thought you were saying Angel.
You know what my homer pick is. Y'all know what my homer pick is, but I'm gonna put the journalist. Hold on, I got a journalist hat here somewhere, and I'm actually gonna put it on. See, this is my journalist hat in disguise as Lewisburg College, a team I used to cover in North Carolina. And I'm going to say Asia Wilson goes back to back.
Asia Wilson could go back to back very easily. You're not the only one who picked that. Las Vegas, 25% are the odds there. The overwhelming consensus was Nafisa Collier.
Ah, okay.
I mean, best defensive player ever. I mean, this woman, she can do it all. And she did Unrivaled last year. I mean, my God, what a woman.
Her skills got so much sharper, especially defensively. She's going to be a dynamo. I can't wait to see her in action.
Me too. 67% of the GMs agreed with you too. And 8% picked Caitlin Clark. So I wouldn't be surprised. It could go anyway.
It can.
Now, if you were starting a franchise today and could sign any player in the WNBA, who would it be?
Ooh.
Now, see, that's not fair. That's not a fair question. CC.
Okay. Everybody agrees with you. At least half the people voting agreed with you. 50%. Asia Wilson came in next at 33%. Also receiving votes, Nafisa again, and Dominique Malonga.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay. I can see that. I can see that.
Yeah. And by the way, she's Seattle. So yeah, the poor, helpless, completely retooled Seattle in a post-Jewel Lloyd world. So this will be interesting. Let's see. Which player is most likely to have a breakout season?
I can see Cunningham.
Toss-up.
Who?
That's a
Cunningham.
toss-up. Who's that, Droid?
Fever.
Cunningham.
Sophie Cunningham.
Sophie Cunningham. It would be damn time for her. Mean, she's been a surprise. She's been underrated, and high expectations for a while there, but she could easily do something very, very nice. I could see it. I'll tell you, the number one was Satu Sabali at going for Phoenix this year.
Yeah,
20%. But there were so many that got votes. They couldn't. There was just not enough percentages. Marina Mabry from Connecticut, Kelsey Plum. The Sparks, her new team, Gabby Williams in Seattle, Aaliyah Boston, the Fever.
Aaliyah Boston's going to be a wild card for Indiana because
she
grew so much the second half of last year, especially, I'll say it again, when the Fever got a chance to rest. They got a chance to rest their legs. Caitlin Clark had a chance to rest her legs, and they got together. They were the highest scoring team of the second half of the year last year. So Boston is definitely worth the vote.
Oh, yeah. I'm looking forward. She's going to be a powerhouse. I'm sure of that. Now, which player acquisition will make the biggest impact? I'm just going to give you 3 here. Could it be Alyssa Thomas, Kelsey Plum, or Satu Sabali?
Kelsey Plum.
Kelsey
Plum.
30% agree with you. Alyssa Thomas on the Mercury. They think it's going to be 50%. And you're going to like this question too.
Okay.
What will turn out to be the most underrated player acquisition?
Good question.
You just mentioned her.
Kelsey Plum.
Sophie Cunningham.
Sophie Cunningham, duh.
70%. Ariel Atkins. Ariel Atkins from the Sky. 17%. She's very excited to be here. She was all hyper during WNBA Media Day and was just terrific. One thing I love about the Sky this year, everybody's excited to be there with their win now philosophy.
That's the attitude that's the attitude I'm looking for from the Sky. That's the attitude I'm looking for from everybody.
Well, that's
in women's basketball. That's the attitude they need to have because it's so undercovered and underrated. That alone should give them that attitude.
Yep. And we are going to hope and pray that what Tyler Marsh is building here is going to be exactly that. And I had such good conversations. Everybody's so excited to be here, and I love it. Everybody feels to me like they are really doing a turnaround from last year. They have done everything that they needed to do in order to make this season so much better. I could see them in the playoffs. I could see them maybe going.
Can you feel that change? Because you went to Media Day. Can you feel that change among not just the players, but the players, the fans, the media, the media reps, all with the a family first mentality? Because we covered this guy together for many years, and we kept getting that vibe. That vibe hasn't been there since they won their championship in 2021. Are you starting to feel that vibe there again?
Very much so. Yeah. They just want to put everything behind. They just want to, erase last year. Angel Reese is super excited about, she's looking forward to becoming much more of a playmaker this year. She's looking forward to doing more outside the rim. And
I actually wanted to ask you what is Angel Reese mainly just trying to, I guess forget as if, last year never happened?
I think so in a way. She wants to be much more than a rebounder, and that'll be there. But what Coach Marsh has done is to encourage her more on both sides of the ball, and so he's working on her defensive skills so she can be And she
Good.
said that, she felt very bad about not making the playoffs. To win is everything to her. She made that very, very clear. Somebody asked a question that she just skipped over. They said something about, have you learned to tone down your aggression or something like that? Or are you planning on toning down your aggression? Something along those lines.
Mhm.
And she said, next question. Loudly.
You know what? And that's good.
Yeah.
And that's good.
That's called that she's getting media trained. So
That's good. And you're right, Droid. She's been media trained. And the other thing is, and Allie we've all mentioned it, okay? Not just Allie, but Droid, Shane, Victor, and myself have all mentioned it. Focus on this upcoming season.
Exactly.
I can so see Angel Reese being a defensive dynamo.
Yes.
But she has to work at it.
He's got that aggression, and God, she has so many fans I have been privileged to view the games of the Aurora Park District, and the thing is, so many of them look up to her. It's amazing. Greg's grandson Ollie knows who she is, and he's a big fan of the WNBA. I think I will be forced to get him to a game this year.
I don't think that'll be forced if he's so excited about the game and the players already. I don't think that's force.
I love it.
I don't think that's force at all.
But speaking of playoffs, there's a very big one happening right now. Maybe the PWHL. I don't know. Maybe is it the PWHL? Pretty damn sure it's the PWHL.
Yeah, if they have any strength left after their 4 overtime game.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Have you been paying attention to it, watching it?
I have been paying more attention to the Ottawa Charge Montreal Victoire series than I did the Frost Inspector series.
I love it. I think that
listen, Ottawa and Montreal, the Battle of Canada. Ottawa leads that series 2 games to 1. Game 4 is tonight in Ottawa.
And I see Montreal taking game 4 in Ottawa and taking it to a 5-game series.
I see this going the distance.
Absolutely.
I see this series going the distance.
It's just like the Mavericks. Not the Mavericks. I'm sorry, not the Mavericks. The Denver Nuggets. They took it to 7, and I'm so happy we were watching that last.
I couldn't believe it.
I applaud the Nuggets for their performance this playoffs. Everyone looks at your seed and they're like, "Oh, you're not a big seed. You're not going to do nothing." The Nuggets are like, "Screw the number. Look at our numbers."
Yep, I'm looking forward to them taking down Oklahoma City. I really am. Yeah,
the 4 overtime game that y'all just mentioned, Montreal and Ottawa, in Montreal. Listen, I barely got through 3 overtimes with the Boston Bruins and the Chicago Blackhawks some time back, and I was glued to this one. I was absolutely glued to this one.
Well, you know what? Nobody wants to go home.
No.
Right? And so they battled and battled and battled. Can you imagine skating 7 periods of hockey?
Listen, I know Steven Stamkos knows how that skating 6 periods of hockey goes. Because listen, they went to double overtime, but I think the longest overtime I've seen in my lifetime was that Tampa Bay Lightning Columbus Blue Jackets series. I think that was 5 overtime periods. That's 8 periods of hockey.
I've seen a 5 overtime game with the Pittsburgh Penguins and the Philadelphia Flyers.
My God.
A game that didn't end until 1 a.m. I celebrated and then I fell right to sleep.
I believe it.
One of my favorite recent overtime games was, Blake's going to hate me for this, the
Panthers and Canes in the Eastern Conference Final, where Matthew Tkachuk sent everybody to bed, and I think there were literally people taking a sleep in the stands.
I believe it.
Taking a quick little nap.
It's for a playoff game, you have to take a quick little nap. You get the intermission break. They Zamboni they surface the ice, and when they come back on the ice, they blow the horn. You're ready to go again. Now, let's go.
They sit as long as they sell coffee in the stands. I'm real happy.
I was at a game where that happened.
I will go. We did it once on my mother's 90th birthday, which was 8 years ago. It was my entire family was at Wrigley Field for an 18-inning game. And, my sister-in-law needs sleep. The kids were young at the time. Then we had Lev and my niece and nephew, who were, I think, maybe young teenagers at the time. And so I have a picture of my nephew sleeping on my mother's shoulder. My mother is like, "Oh, we get to see 2 games. I'm so happy." We're all getting so grumpy. I'm like, I gotta work tomorrow. It was just insane. And Lev's got to go to school. This is May. This is not before the end of her their school year. And so I'm going, what the hell are we gonna do? Okay.
Next thing you hear, the vendors going up and down the aisles. Coffee. Pillows, back scratch it.
We did, yep. And I'm like, please,
the longest game I ever called, I was with Roosevelt University of Chicago. We were playing University of St. Francis down in Joliet.
Oh, yeah.
And it was a doubleheader schedule. First game goes 7 innings, second game goes 9 innings. It got to the 9th inning of game 1. We were still tied 2 apiece. And I'm thinking, how long is this thing going to go? Then we get to the 10th inning. And in the middle of that 10th inning, I hear a squeak behind me because they were shaping up Silver Cross Field for their summer baseball season. Somebody had a squeegee. And in the middle of me saying, here's the pitch, I hear,
oh, lovely on air.
I turned around and went, what the hell is this? And then the guy just waved at me. Mark Farina and I were just sitting there cracking up.
God.
That game wound up going 13 innings.
Wow. That's amazing. Who won?
Roosevelt won 4-2.
Oh, all right.
Roosevelt Lakers won that game 4-2. I looked at Mark and he looked at me. He says, do you really want to do another 9-inning game? No. Then the word came up. This one's only going 7. If it's a 10-run deficit after 5, we're calling it after 5, and we're getting the heck up out of here. The coolest thing about that, one of the parents heard Mark and I mention on the air that we were hungry. And we were like, what are we going to do for food since this game's now going extra innings? I don't know. We'll figure it out when we get out of here. I step out for a minute and come back, and there's a big spread of Portillo's waiting for us.
Oh,
somebody ran and got Portillo's for us, and we had a big spread in the booth. And that was one of those times you didn't care about decorum. We were hungry.
Yeah.
Screw decorum. We're eating during the 6th.
Yes.
Chomp, chomp, chomp on the air.
We met the parents that got the spread for us, and we thanked them, and we thanked all the parents for tuning in. And they said, well, did you think you'd make it 13 innings? No.
Snowman, I don't need to remind you about droids and my longest day on the mic.
Oh, I know. I was there. I was there with you.
I wasn't. What day was it?
Last year, Daytona 500. We end up calling both the 500 and the rain postponed.
Oh my goodness! Oh, you done? I was like, what is he talking about? I was like, oh,
Daytona.
That one.
How
Daytona.
How many days were you on the air then?
Oh, roughly about 8.5 hours, give or take.
That's not bad.
The thing is, the first race went on long. The first race, it wasn't long. It was the second race, the Xfinity race.
300 miles turned into about what, 320-ish, 330-ish?
God almighty.
The only reason the Xfinity race went on was even late after the Cup race, because usually it's always before the Cup race.
Yep.
But this time it was after, because of some scheduling issues that happened Saturday. It rained, it poured. There was no way that race is going to happen, so they had to schedule it, and they kind of had scheduling conflicts for earlier in the day, so they had to do later in the day.
And to think that was on a Monday as well.
Yeah, it was a Monday. I had classes in the morning. I was not happy.
Yeah. Our day, what was it? Our day started at like what? 2-ish in the afternoon.
We started the broadcast at like 1:30 because we had like a 30-minute pre-race, like a little pre-race segment. You know, we were going down the line, going down the storyline. Shaner had his notebook out, you know, reading through the storylines and all that.
Like always.
About hour 3 of the broadcast, we're just about getting to the final stage. I think it's end of stage 2. I don't remember who won stage 2 though.
I can't think of it off the top of my head either.
That's crazy. Are we going to talk about women's sports again at some point? Yeah.
Get back to it now. We totally veered off track.
Absolutely.
Android, it's your fault mentioning 4 overtimes in the PWHL.
I love it. Yeah.
Don't blame me.
Let me stop kidding around. We love talking women's
Allie,
sports,
listen,
y'all.
okay. I wanted to talk NWSL because you know I'm a current fan. I've been a current fan since their induction into the NWSL. I don't even remember when that was. It's been a minute. But when the Current became a team, and we heard they were going to be playing at CMP, I was like, okay, cool. This is great. And then I heard they were getting their own stadium. I'm like, when was the last time you heard a city going out of their way to build a stadium for a women's team?
That's been a very long time. And the last time I remember it was the all softball field at Chicago Bandit Stadium. That's the last one I remember.
Which, by the way, right now, the Current are 6-0-2, leading the NWSL with 18 points. The Pride, who they play tonight at 7 p.m., are just behind them 5-1-2 with 16 points. But the only difference is that the Current have a goal differential of 12.
Yes. How about that? It's I will say, I'm so glad that you are keeping such great tabs on Kansas City, first of all. And it's exciting. Did you hear this as well? That the Stars, I almost said Red Stars because I'm like really old, and
it was last year, Allie.
I know.
It was last year.
Yeah, they did. Well, you know, it's nice
Stars
forever.
Listen, it's like our thing with the Commanders. They're always the Redskins to us, so the Chicago Stars will always be the
Red Stars.
Let's make that official right now.
One of the things that they are considering is moving out of their soccer-specific stadium in Bridgeview, and which is both a good thing and a bad thing. One of the things that Evanston now reported is that they're exploring a move to the campus of Northwestern University using the same stadium that the football team is using because of the fact that they're having a brand new, incredibly spanking state-of-the-art.
I was gonna say the only reason you go play at a college is because you're building a new stadium.
Yeah.
That's
What they
always
wanna-
the reason.
their goal, according to the president of the team, they would love to build about a 14,000 person stadium with the ability to grow to 20,000. And the thing is that the biggest problem with Bridgeview is that it is inconvenient to everything. They have a bus stop right there, but I lived very near Bridgeview for over 10 years, and I can tell you, and my child can tell you, that transportation to that stadium, which was Toyota Park. Now, what is it? I can't. But it's no longer that.
It's SeatGeek Stadium.
SeatGeek, yeah, thank you. It has seen better days, I think, and the thing is, it's very hard to get people there, especially when the team is not winning.
I think one of the biggest flaws with SeatGeek Stadium is it's a 28,000 capacity stadium when your biggest stadium in the MLS is BMO Stadium in Los Angeles. It's owned by LAFC.
Mm-hmm.
One of the biggest ones, which was built for the Angels, is 22,000.
Yeah.
And then where Washington Spirit play, which they share with DC United, it's 20,000.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I think CPKC Stadium is one of the smaller ones, but that's because they know that with the smaller amount of seats, there's less room to fit people, which means you could sell out the tickets really easily, which is 11,500 is CPKC Stadium current capacity.
Exactly.
But 28,000 is ridiculous.
Yeah. And however, it's possible. You build for the future. The future will be in everything that's going to happen with the NWSL. And they are growing and changing by day. I will look forward to the day when we see that women's soccer is going to get to 28,000 at capacity anywhere, and they have done so before. And I think now, like with every other team that we've talked about in women's sports, this is the time to do that. And I'm looking forward to it. I would say that SeatGeek Stadium will be fine because they have the junior leaguers of both the both the Chicago Stars and the
Fire.
And the Fire. Yeah, sorry,
and they also got their rugby team over there.
And the Ruxing people. Yeah, which is good. I love that. And so I would say that SeatGeek Stadium will be fine if the Stars move on to Northwestern, and also look at a very good possibility of building their own stadium somewhere convenient to public transportation and build a gigantic parking lot. So that's what we're hoping for. I mean, Peter Wilt, who initially made the deal for that stadium, said that it was the best deal he could have gotten. He was able to build it almost without cost. And it was great for the Fire. It's great for the Stars. They need to go to a place that is much more convenient. That's why Allstate Arena was great for the Chicago Sky initially, as was UIC Pavilion when it was called that. And now they have Wintrust Arena. All good stadiums, but I believe that the Sky is going to someday maybe need their own place or move into the United Center.
I was thinking about how soon this guy could move into the United Center. It's centrally located, access to public transportation. Not saying you can't get it with Wintrust Arena, but the popularity this year of the Sky will determine where they go in the future. If they have a great season, let's just say they have a playoff season, how long do you think it would take them, building off of a possible playoff season, to move into the United Center?
They already are building a new practice facility. So, I would say that once they stabilize their coaching situation, right now I just talked with them yesterday on a Zoom interview, and they were, I would say that it would probably take maybe 3 years to,
that's about right.
Yeah, to really get them to a point where people are going to want to come. They've got several problems this year. Number one is that they're unstable at the coaching position, and they're lacking Mallory Swanson, who, by the way, congratulations to Mallory and her husband Dansby, about to become parents. Mm-hmm. That explains the long absence. I understand. More power to them. But I think what they need to do is become the team that they were under Rory Dames, without the constant emotional and physical abuse that he heaped on them. Right. And for that, they are their new coach is taking a really one step at a time approach with them. Right. They're building a group of extremely young players, and they want to make sure that that those players are well developed. Right now, you ain't got anything to build on. There's no particular leader. I wish that they had what they had in Kansas City. I wish that there was that winning attitude. There's got to be somebody coming in as a dynamo, and I can't think of who that would be, actually. For right this second, I can't think of somebody, but I'm fairly sure that they are going to get that straightened out. Laura Ricketts knows how to run teams. I think it's going to be a very good season in say a season from now.
Yeah.
I would say that they will be much improved then. I have to mention too, while we're still on the subject of soccer, we've got to talk about what happened in Angel City and Utah Royals with Savvy King when she collapsed and the game went on. It's the NWSL just concluded that they did a short investigation after much public outcry. With players being so distraught that their teammate who had suffered a heart abnormality that was previously undetected was lying on the field, carted off. The players were so distraught. Nobody at Angel City could play after that. It was absolutely a horrible, horrible thing to have happen. And so the thing is that the NWSL has since concluded that games where players are injured will not go on.
Okay.
And I think that's a smart idea, because you're going to play worried about your teammates, distracted as hell.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I mean, if it were my child, I would not want for the teammates to have to go focus on the play. This reminded me of a couple of instances. Way back when, Brian, you may have been too young to remember this, but do you remember a player by the name of Chuck Hughes on the Detroit Lions?
I do.
Back in 1971, he collapsed and died on the field.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I remember that was one of the first things that got me scared about the game of football. My mother was telling me that, I was real young. I'm like, Mom, is he dead? Mom didn't know what to say. And,
right.
And the game went on there too. It turned out initially there were some ill reports about Dick Butkus hitting him hard in the chest.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, but those reports were false. It actually came out of a spleen injury that he had many weeks earlier, had caused blood clots to form around his heart. So literally, it was a very tragic situation. Players should not have to be put to the ultimate test and move along that way.
That's why I loved the how the NFL handled, when Damar Hamlin went down.
Yes.
They completely canceled the game. They moved it to a different date. So, everybody had time to recollect their thoughts. Everyone had time to, pray for Damar. And, that was just like every other situation. It was so sudden. You don't realize it happens until, you get that call from your friend that says, hey, turn on the Bengals-Bills game. Or, hey, turn on the Royals, the Royals-Angel City game. I'm like, well, why? And I'm like, you turn it on and you see a player down the field, and the way the NWSL did it was worse. But when you turn on that Bengals-Bills game and you see paramedics surrounding, you see an ambulance on the field, it's a moment that makes your heart sink.
Yes.
And one of those moments for me, as a hockey guy, was when Jay Bouwmeester collapsed on the bench against the Ducks.
Mm-hmm. Oh my God, I'd forgotten that one. Yeah,
that was such a scary situation because I followed the Blues very closely while I followed my Panthers, and Jay Bouwmeester, a really big part of that Stanley Cup winning team for the Blues.
Yeah,
and just to see him. Like, first, they said from his teammates, they said he sounded like he was breathing abnormally, which is usually the first sign to, a possible cardiac arrest.
Yeah.
And sure enough, after a shift, he tries to sit down and then collapses in front of medical staff. You had Ducks medical staff rushing towards the Blues bench. You had Blues staff coming down the tunnel. It was one of those scary situations. We're happy, all players that, have fallen recently or have had situations happen on the field are okay. Damar Hamlin has been recovering.
Right.
Jay Bouwmeester sadly was forced to retire, but we hope this isn't the same case.
One of the things that came out of Chuck Hughes's passing was that all teams in the NFL, which others have adopted, is that they must have defibrillators available. Yes. And that was probably the lifesaver that has saved the life 150,000 times of players who have suffered some trauma like that. And so, his legacy lives on in these players who have been helped, like Damar Hamlin.
The recent player of memory for me, aside of Damar Hamlin, where I really first saw it live, was Hank Gathers.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Oh my gosh.
During the West Coast Conference tournament, for those of you that are unfamiliar, Hank Gathers was a member of the Loyola Marymount Lions. He and Bo Kimball and Jeff Fryer were the stars of that team. And during a tournament game, Gathers went up for a dunk and then all of a sudden collapsed. and he died on the court. It was in Los Angeles at Loyola Marymount's gym. They stopped the game. They took care of Gathers, who unfortunately passed away on the court. They didn't play another game in that tournament. They awarded the tournament win to Loyola Marymount, but it didn't matter with the situation with Hank Gathers. And I still have a couple drawings to this day where I just drew number 44, which was the number he wore, and I'm gonna have those pictures put up here in my office. But having that, having those conditions in place, or having those standards in place, I should say, for players that suffer in any kind of way, that should be a first and foremost, that should be a standard. I'll mention another player before we get out of here that didn't know what was going on with him until after he retired. Does the name Junior Seau mean anything to you?
Oh, yes. Oh, God rest his soul.
God rest his soul. Indeed. If you have a child that's involved in sports, especially if you have women that are involved in sports, make sure all of the standards and practices, the health standards and practices, are in place, because we can relay and tell you that we've seen some instances where they weren't, and unfortunately the ultimate bad result happened. And we got to get the heck up out of here. But Allie, always a pleasure, my dear. Thank you for coming on with us. Made an executive decision tonight, the Wings and the Lynx. I'll have it live here, and then y'all know the big one tomorrow, the Chicago Sky and the Indiana Fever from Indianapolis, Indiana. I'll be here in the studio behind the headset for that. And who knows, there's a redhead that may join me. Thank you, Allie. Thank you very, very much. Appreciate you.
Have a happy WNBA weekend.
Absolutely. Thank you, Allie.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Please remind you once again, with any team that you're participating with, no matter what the level, you never know what kind of health concerns would come up or can come up. We've mentioned many examples here at the tail end of the show. Make sure whatever team your child signs up with, or you sign your child up with, that all of the health standards and practices are in place, and that you have some folks on standby just in case that protective fence breaks down, because it has broken down before. Again, I mentioned the example of Hank Gathers. They had everybody in place, but unfortunately something went undetected and it cost them. We want to make sure everybody who plays hard, but plays safely. We got to get out of here. Wings and Links tonight, 6:30 for a pregame, 7 o'clock for the tip. That's Eastern time. I'll have it here on the channel while we're peeking in on a hockey game and a game 6 in Boston. Have a great weekend.
Celtics.
Shut up. Have a great weekend. God bless. Remember to make your next move your best move. And always remember, if your dreams don't scare you, they're simply not big enough. Dream big, do bigger. Bickle and Bolin did that in 2013. Bye, y'all.
And as always,
solid pumpernickel.
You ass.
Screw you, James Harden.
Bye. See you Monday.